So, you want to learn pixel art? Well, you've come to the right place. As a small YouTuber whose whole thing is talking about games using pixel art, I believe I am somewhat qualified to explain how it works. By the time this video is over, you'll know everything you need to get started on this art form. You most likely won't be an expert, but will have a solid foundation to start your journey. And the only thing you need is around 10 minutes of your time, a computer, and to subscribe to the channel because the algorithm is a bitch and I want to reach 500 subs before the year ends. Anyways, let's get started. Here is a timestamp in case you just want to learn how to draw. I'd recommend watching the entire video since I say some pretty important things, but it's up to you. First of all, you need to understand what pixel art is. It should be obvious, but there is a small misconception people make when creating it. And it's that pixel art should only look like this. When you look at these two drawings, which one do you think is made of pixels? The answer is both, because the second you start drawing digitally, you are using pixels. So why is the picture on the right considered pixel art? Well, it has certain characteristics that differentiate it from other styles. Each individual pixel is very noticeable, you can perfectly see each of them and they play a major role in the overall composition. They don't use that many colors. In a more traditional illustration you get thousands of different shades, tones and colors. But pixel art mimics old video games where computers could only handle a few of them. It must be done with low resolution. This is probably the most important point. The more resolution and the bigger the canvas, the more pixels are going to be present, and as such each of them will become less noticeable. As an example, here you have some balls I made in different resolutions. One is in 16 by 16, another one in 200 by 200, and the last one in 2000 by 2000. Notice the difference? I used the exact same tool on the exact same program and the results are completely different. Traditionally, pixel art is done on the following resolutions, but this is more a guide than a rule. The more pixels you have to work with, the more details you can add, and it is entirely possible to do pixel art with resolutions in the hundreds. As an example, most of my art is made in the 100 to 200 range. My suggestion to you is to start with 8 by 8 so you can focus on the shape of your sprites. Then slowly increase the resolution to add more details until you find one that allows you to do the stuff you want to make. Art is subjective, and the point where pixel art stops being that is also subjective. The good thing about pixel art is that as long as you have a computer you can make it. There are many art programs that you can use, but there are a couple that are perfect for this. Photoshop can do the job if you already have it, but honestly f*** Adobe and their price of subscription. So I'd recommend instead Clip Studio Paint, Paint Tool SAI or Krita. They were made for digital illustration in general, so they can work, but it's going to be a bit awkward. Like using a fork to eat soup. My personal recommendation is Sprite, an art program made with pixel art in mind. And you can even make animations in it. It is very intuitive and has everything you could need. You can even save sprites to use them later and make your own color palettes. It's a really good software and it's pretty affordable. I swear I'm not sponsored, although I wouldn't mind. It's just overall the best option in my opinion. If you don't want to invest, pixel art is a free alternative. A website in which you can make pixel art without issues. I like some of the features of Sprite and personally I don't feel as comfortable, but it gets the job done. And it should be enough to get you started. And on the off chance that you can only afford a PC with Minesweeper installed, it is possible to make pixel art on Paint or Excel. No, I am not joking. More often than not, if you already know how to draw, you are set. But there are some things that separate normal pixel art from great pixel art. First of which is the line. Here we have it. A line. Simple, boring, without curves. But let's stop talking about your mom. Over here we have some more. Now tell me, which one looks slightly off? Yep, it's this one, this ugly fucker. But why? Well, it's because the amount of pixels that form it are inconsistent. This type of stuff isn't necessarily bad, it has its uses, but more often than not you will want your line work to be more balanced, following a pattern or in relatively even groups. Let's now make a curve. You look at it and think, yep, that's definitely a curve. But is it? Then why the hell does it look so blocky? That's because of these assholes, these corners over here. Yeah, you don't want those. If we were to trace a line over them, it will look like this, and as you can see the curves are way too sharp. So instead let's take those out. Much better, no? But it could still improve. How? Well, if you notice, we repeat the same mistake of the straight lines, and that is that we have groups of pixels that are inconsistent. This lack of consistency makes the curve look a bit off. Instead I'm going to modify it so the groups of 2 are next to other groups of 2. the ones next to the ones, and so on. In general, I like to use the ones as the point where the curve starts to take shape, and slowly I increase the pixels to make the curve. Doesn't the flow feel much better now? Once again, this is not a hard requirement or something you need to stress too much about. Take a look at this piece for example. The artist used groups of 1 and 2 pixels in irregular intervals, and yet they worked for the angles they wanted to create. If it does the job and looks nice, then do whatever you want. There is no perfect way to make art, so just do whatever makes you happy. Next up, corners. I said before they have their uses, and it's time to find out what they are. Over here we have a bots. We know them, we love them, sometimes they come with a nets. Now, here we have another bots, but this time let's take away the corners and wow, it looks more round. Do this a few more times and you get a ball. Basically, if you want something to look firm, you give it corners. If you want to make it look soft, take them away. Corners are useful for buildings, furniture, boxes, etc. If something is alive or organic, they won't have them, since when was the last time you saw a person with squares on them? Minecraft doesn't count. Clothes are sometimes okay though. Finally, we get to the good shit. Colors. Because you're working with a limited amount of pixels, you can just rainbow vomit on your canvas. But that doesn't mean you can't do colorful art. Pixel art works with few colors, and more often than not they are going to be very intense, although it depends on the mood. Knowing color theory is going to be extremely helpful, but if you have no idea what that is, you can also use LowSpec, a website where you can find pre-made color palettes. A good rule of thumb is to pick 3 tones per color, one as your base, one for highlights, and one for shadows. But, and this is extremely important, you have to make sure there is a high contrast between them. What do I mean? Well, contrast is, in simple terms, the difference between one color and another. If I pick black for example and put it next to a very dark gray, then yes, they are technically different colors, but they might as well be the same one. It's difficult to know where one ends and the other begins. Now in comparison, we take black and put it next to white. Now we are talking. This is what you are aiming for. This is high contrast. By using this in your pixel art, you are able to show more clearly where there are lights and shadows using a limited amount of tones. The lower your resolution, the less colors you can use, but if you start working with bigger ones, then you can go crazy. Also, start by using grids. It'll make it easier for you to place your pixels while you get used to it. Well, my young padawans, now it's time to get to work. Of course, knowing how to draw will make this easier for you, but if you don't know how to do it, there are always these exercises you can do to practice. Make lines and curves. Seriously, this point is going to carry you and make your pixel art take shape. Keep in mind everything I told you and try different angles. It's boring, but the fundamentals always are. To practice coloring, use coloring pages. Of course, ones made with pixel art in mind. It sounds silly, but this will help you understand how to use the limited amount of colors you have. And if you want to challenge yourself, try to add lights and shadows. I promise it will help you. The best exercise you can do is to copy the art of others. I'm not saying to plagiarize them, you dickheads. I mean grabbing some sprites you like and try to recreate them by yourself. Start with small ones, and as you get used to them, try more complex ones. But it's not just copying them. You have to do this smartly, so ask yourself, why is this pixel important? What would happen if I added another one or took this one away? What if this part had a corner? Why am I not subscribed to Buonny's Pixel Saga when the teacher is so funny and handsome? All of these questions will help you understand this art form, and before you know it, you'll be able to create your own stuff. Remember, never pass the work of others as your own. Use this to learn from others and give artists the respect they deserve. Also f*** AI. And that's it! That was your first lesson so you can start learning on your own. And while I might not be an expert, you are welcome to tag me on your art on both Instagram and Facebook so I can give you advice. Alternatively, you can join my Discord and we can talk there. If you like this video and would like more tutorials, be sure to let me know, as there is a bunch of stuff I didn't go over. And also, if this was useful, I would appreciate a like, sharing with your friends, subscribing to the channel, or looking up some of the stuff I've made. Any support is appreciated. Hope this was useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!